Hello and good morning. This is going to be a quick, short video, famous last words. I just want to quickly riff and talk about seasons for a minute. So this is what I've been thinking about. I'm probably not alone in this, in that this autumn feels like really going inward. Maybe with a lot of other times with school or college or work or whatever, it's almost like you get this like rush of energy that carries you through to the end of the year of like, okay, this is work time. But my summer was really busy, really intense, and now I feel like a little dormouse or a little squirrel who's crawling into a tree and is really going inwards and is kind of done with the external. So that's how I'm feeling physically. And this is sort of, it's bringing to mind the ways in which we fight the seasons, in which we, rather than embracing the flow of things, we say, oh, well, this is the period of time that we really push hard when everything around us is letting go, hibernating, going to sleep, drawing inwards. You may have come across that there was an experiment where they injected adrenaline into redwoods to sort of stimulate like a perpetual summer. And the tree, unsurprisingly, died within a year because there's something very important within the cycle of rest. And this experiment is a perfect example of our ways of looking at productivity and ignoring rest. So obviously there are the big four seasons. They can change widely on their dates and what they look like depending on where you are in the world. But there's also other seasons within that. There's lunar seasons. If you're running a business, there's economic cycles at play. And in Japan, there's this really fascinating concept about, rather than, just the four big seasons, that there's actually, I don't know what the exact number is, but it's something like 72 micro seasons where they're distinguishable in that something key and beautiful unfolds within that specific period of time of like 3 to 4 days. And it's a really interesting way of looking at things. And we've insulated ourselves so much from the seasons and from weather that we don't seem to have the tolerance for any kind of atmospheric change within our lives, or, we build economies that are very susceptible to any kind of shock or change. Even our own emotional tolerance for any kind of change is vastly decreased because we don't live in that cyclical ritual kind of way that allows us to maybe accept endings. And this is reminding me of a different topic which I was writing and thinking about earlier this year, which is this concept of closing magic, where in a lot of ways, a lot of things in our lives are just left hanging, like we don't really celebrate beginnings very well either, but we're definitely better at that than celebrating endings and actually closing a cycle and moving on. And I think closing magic has a lot of applications that we don't necessarily talk about. Maybe it's the end of a relationship where you need to grieve that and honor that and celebrate, its beauty, and take what you've learned from that and properly close that chapter so you can move on, rather than thinking about it for the next 15 years or something. Like we need to have those cultural capacities. And maybe it's a business ending, or maybe you're closing a physical store or something. Like, we have so many resources and cultural sort of wisdom devoted to starting a business or a project or whatever it is. But what about when that comes to a natural end, where it's not a failure, maybe simply something changed, or you lost interest, or wasn't viable anymore, or whatever it was, that this thing needs to be honored and it needs to be closed properly. And if you've ever been part of closing a business, you know that there's equally as many, if not more, elements to it than starting a business. And to be able to do that with grace and beauty, you know. So yeah, we have a whole cultural thing about endings where we're not properly honoring them. And that comes into, I guess, our fear of autumn and winter and going within. Like, we can't accept, in some ways, that the year is over, that the year is wrapping up, that the summer is over. But if you can mark that, and I think your body will guide you, maybe you have a slight cold, or you're needing more sleep, or you want to eat more, I don't know, soup at this time. Let your animal body guide you, and let the mind take a little bit more of a backseat at this time. But back to the previous point of increasing our tolerance for change, where we've insulated ourselves a little bit too much from the natural cycles of change. And then when change inevitably comes knocking in our lives, it's like this big cosmic shock. Now, some of us, and myself included, have had enough change in our lives where we kind of get a little bit better at it. And I think it probably happens naturally as you get a little bit older as well, that you're, in a way, you've conducted your own mental rituals, which maybe don't exist in your society, but you've developed your own framework for handling the end of something and celebrating it. But one of the ways that you see this, lack of tolerance to change expressed is in our obsession with prediction. And I'm not the first person to point this out. This is absolutely inspired by a wonderful video by an astrologer. But our grip on prediction is, in some ways, a lot of what is fueling the kind of pop astrology world of everything, in a way, feels uncertain. People are craving certainty, and if there is a mode that can give them a cosmic prediction of the emotions of the day or the week, people will gravitate towards that. But if you talk to people who look at astrology in a perhaps deeper way, that's not really the purpose of it. It's not predictive. It's about investigating archetypes within yourself and allowing you to come into conversation with different aspects of yourself and different quite large archetypal figures that you will encounter over the process of your life, be they in people or a kind of overpowering force that wants change, or however it shows up. But that seems to be the wisdom of astrology. It's not that the stars will be in this exact alignment and you will feel or encounter this exact thing at this exact time. It's not predictive. And I think a lot of ways in which we run our businesses is attempting that prediction. A lot of people are running businesses that predict. Look at, I don't know, trends analysis and people who are trying to get ahead of where overculture will be. A lot of it is prediction based, because we want to be prepared, But in this grasping, we're perhaps ignoring the data that is within us and around us very much presently, in that the seasons are changing, and can you be present enough not to be always looking forward and, avoiding maybe the endings or the beginnings that are here right now. It's an interesting thought. If you could apply it in a quite present, quiet sense, not that it is yet another thing to add, but maybe just taking a moment to tap into your animal body and to interact with trees and all the beautiful aspects that creep into very sterilized, very controlled environments to remind us that, hey, it's autumn, it's winter, it doesn't matter what sort of a box you live in. Like this is what's going on, and you are feeling it, and you're inevitably going to feel it within your creativity. And you have your own personal cycles as well. Maybe you're intensely creative in autumn, maybe you find a little bit more space, maybe you're just so busy there isn't any time to think about it. Whatever it is, maybe bring a little bit of presence and awareness to it. That's what I'm thinking about today. Um, it's such a beautiful, beautiful autumn day here, and it's beckoning me to go outside, go do things, you know. It's the dormouse's last dash out to get some acorns, you know. So that's sort of, yeah, that's what I'm thinking about today. Have a beautiful day, and I'll talk to you soon.